Right now on the National Weather Desk, powerful winds leave a trail of damage in South Florida.
And then it was raining sideways, and then got wind. I couldn't even see in my backyard.
While a tornado damages homes in South Carolina.
And we had like 15 people at one time cutting down trees, getting it done.
Central Texas prepares to bake in a week of brutally hot weather.
I think we're a lot tougher towards the heat than we may actually be.
45 years after Mount St. Helens erupted, a look at what Washington State is doing to prepare for the next one.
It's like it's something so big you couldn't do anything about it. But you absolutely can, and getting prepared now is the key.
How scientists are now using tornado tracking technology to better predict deadly debris flows.
Is there ever anything you can do to prevent a debris flow post-wildfire or flash flood post-wildfire?
And tips to help you keep your lawn looking great all summer long.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. High winds wreaked havoc across South Florida last night. 60 to 70 mile-per-hour wind gusts damaged homes and property in Palm Beach County. There are no reports of injuries, so as Jamilka Gibson reports, the focus now is on cleanup.
Heavy rain and strong winds pummeling parts of western Palm Beach County Monday. This as the National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm warning with the potential of 60 to 70 mile-per-hour winds.
It was raining harder, and then it was raining sideways, and then got wind. I couldn't even see in my backyard, and I come out and it's a total disaster.
Richard Berman lives along 140th Avenue and 80th Lane North in Westlake and says those powerful gusts made their presence known, snapping trees and ripping a mailbox out the ground.
My pool furniture was in the backyard. It's now by the corner of the house over there.
Just across the street at Joseph Maripoti's house, a similar sight. Downed lines and debris scattered across the yard.
Palm tree snapped in half, a big giant oak tree, snapped and just missed the roof and things like that. So we didn't know how bad the damage was.
But the destruction didn't stop there. This video showing the moments the storm sends a trampoline toppling over and even damaging the pickleball courts at Crestwind in Westlake. Residents now left to pick up the pieces.
Well, I'm retired. I don't know what to say. I mean, send me some help.
A tornado hit Langley, South Carolina, not far from the Georgia border Monday morning. It damaged homes in several neighborhoods, including the local fire department building. Clara Faith has more.
How do you have 5 kids and no transportation?
After an EF1 tornado ripped through Aiken County early Monday morning, the Mason family is still living the nightmare.
It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I was laying in bed watching Coco Melon with my 1-year-old. And about 3:30, we heard a roaring wind, and my wife was like, "That's a tornado." And I was like, "No, it can't be no tornado." And I looked out the window, and it was a tornado.
The Masons lost their only way around with the tornado destroying their family car, and they can't believe the damage.
When I realized that the tree was down on the shed, I started crying, and I come out here and I checked on my car after I checked on my girls upstairs. And when I seen the damage done to my car, oh my God, I just started bawling.
Crews were working all day restoring power and clearing debris in the neighborhood.
And we had like 15 people at one time cutting down trees, getting it done. And now we still got some people, they're gonna come cut down this tree right here. Yeah, the power company, Dominion, is doing a great job at getting this power right back on.
Exceptionally dangerous is how bad this week's weather could get in Central Texas. This is Austin, where today's high is expected to hit 99 degrees. But that's just the start of a brutally hot week, where highs are expected to remain in the upper 90s into the weekend. The early onset of July and August-like temperatures means people have not had time to really adjust. As Betty Cross explains, Austin is opening cooling shelters to help folks beat the heat.
Captain Krista Stedman was born and raised in Austin. 34. She knows the dangers of extreme heat for everyone, including the paramedics who respond to emergencies.
We're not immune to it.
Captain Stedman says first responders know to pre-hydrate before a shift, eat healthy meals, and take regular breaks from the heat. But that's not the case for many, including those new to Texas.
I think we're a lot tougher towards the heat than we may actually be.
EMS deals with dehydrated patients almost every day during late spring and summer. Evaluating whether you're drinking enough fluids doesn't have to be a guessing game.
You want to stay hydrated enough that you're urinating on a regular basis, and you want it to be almost clear.
Austin's hottest temperature ever seen in May is 104 degrees. There's a chance Austin will exceed that on Wednesday. So cooling centers are being opened at libraries, rec centers, and senior activity centers across the city. You're seeing an increased volume or participation in these centers, correct?
We are. On hot weather days, we'll see a lot of people at our central libraries in downtown Austin and in East Austin, and that could fluctuate from a couple of dozen to close to 100.
Cooling centers are open to everyone during normal business hours, and unlike overnight shelters, require no reservation.
If your power goes out, you can go to a cooling center. If you're a senior living on fixed income and you're nervous about running your air conditioner, at extra low to try to balance out the extra high heat, you can go to a cooling center.
A wildfire that has been burning for over 2 months in South Carolina is now 93% contained. But despite recent rain, officials say it's still going to be quite some time before the fire is fully extinguished. Caitlin Richards has more.
Signs that the Covington Drive fire continues to burn. Sprinklers in the woods, crews remaining on scene. ABC 15 Chief Meteorologist Ed Piotrowski says as of Monday afternoon, 2 to 3 inches of rain fell on Carolina forest. Ron Holtz with the South Carolina Forestry Commission tells me the rain has helped, but more is needed.
I'd love to get 4 or 5 more inches to really put this fire out. I know people see all this rain, they think it's over, but it's going to be quite some time that we're out here still working, showing a presence.
When the Covington Drive fire first started, aircraft dropped water on the fire to control the flames. Many people wonder why they can't be used again to help put the fire out completely.
We dropped 1.4 million gallons of water on the fire during the initial attack. I know I see that question a lot. And the reason was that's more for initial attack. The active flames, that will cool off the fire. It won't stop the fire, but it will cool it off long enough for firefighters, either in the bulldozers or other machinery, or even on foot, get closer safely to the fire and start going initial attack on it or right against the fire itself.
I spoke with a handful of people who live in the Covington Drive area. They didn't want to go on camera, but tell me this is the first day the air has smelled clearer. Holt says continuing to smell and see smoke is going to happen until we get more rain.
45 years ago this week, Mount St. Helens erupted, killing 57 people. Theron Zahn spoke to officials in Washington state to find out what they are doing to prepare for the next big eruption.
For many people who lived through the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980, it's the biggest news story of their lifetimes. 45 years ago, the mountain that rumbled for months exploded, sending millions of tons of rock and debris skyward, blocking out the sun in parts of central and eastern Washington.
As you can tell probably from this picture, I'm walking towards the only light I can see on top of a ridge.
It also sent massive waves of instantly melted snow and millions of blasted trees down river valleys. Washington emergency management teams want you to use the anniversary to think about what you would do if another of our Cascade volcanoes were to erupt. We spoke with an expert on Arc Seattle.
Seems like it's something so big you couldn't do anything about it. But you absolutely can, and getting prepared now is the key.
First, have emergency supplies on hand. And if you live in a zone that could be hit by a volcanic flow, know where you would go in a moment's notice.
Like building your go kit and learning your evacuation route, so you can do that very quickly. In the event that a lahar or volcanic mud flow is coming down, you want to be able to evacuate really quickly.
And you can't go if you don't know.
Take some time now to learn how you're going to be alerted. I highly recommend the USGS's Volcano Notification Service, or VNS. You can get information right from them the second something changes at one of our volcanoes.
Because what happened 45 years ago can and will happen again at one of our nearby volcanoes. It's just a matter of time.
The May full moon peaked on Monday. It's known as the flower moon because the month is full of spring blossoms. This was also the third and final of this year's micro moons. Those happen when the moon's orbit puts it at its greatest distance from Earth, making it appear smaller than a typical moon. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, sea turtle nesting season is about to get started in North Carolina. We'll show you what officials are doing to prepare local beaches, and we'll share tips to keep your lawn green and healthy all season long.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Let's talk rainbows. This is known as a fire rainbow, but it's technically a circumhorizontal arc. It's formed by the refraction of sunlight in ice crystals suspended in the air. This rainbow may seem incomplete, but there's a good reason. It won't reach the ground until the rain reaches the ground. And double rainbows like this form when sunlight is reflected twice within the same raindrop.
Want to see your weather photos and videos on TV? Click Chime In on this station's website to share.
A new study about the water quality of the Arkansas River in Tulsa has some shocking results when it comes to E. coli levels. As Bert Momolo reports, it was put together by a local man who has been compiling the city's water quality testing results over the past year.
If there's one thing you absolutely do not want to do if you're out in the Arkansas River having a good time,
the big thing is don't swallow the water.
Dr. Donald Barney running down the list of symptoms if you get E. coli poisoning.
The cramping, the vomiting, fever.
Things to keep in mind on the heels of an analysis by Tulsan Charles Pratt, who crunched the numbers on the past year of water quality testing on the river and found that during the peak months of use from May to October,
the bacteria counts fail to meet the safe criteria 92% of the time.
Which, he argues, makes trying to use the dashboard as a predictor of safety futile.
You cannot depend on the dashboard data to ever guarantee that it's going to be safe, even right after they tested it. It could change the next day.
The river is flowing, so when we test today, it takes 24 hours to get the results back. The test that we got today, it's all the way downriver now.
One amenity that Dr. Barney would like to see installed along the river to help increase safety, showers.
Because you need to wash that E. coli off your body as soon as you can.
Officials in North Carolina are on high alert as they anticipate the arrival of the first sea turtle nests of the season. Female sea turtles are making their way to the beaches for the nesting season. Elena Laster has more.
Dale Bakur is the program coordinator for the Emerald Isle Sea Turtle Patrol.
Could be any day now that we have our first nest.
And though Emerald Isle has not seen their first nest yet, they are on patrol every day.
Every morning from May 1st to August 31st, we have walkers that cover each mile in Emerald Isle, and they're out here between 6 and 7 a.m. looking for tracks.
Bakur says that the turtles are solitary creatures, the mothers leaving behind the nest, but they work very carefully to protect that nest.
Once she lays all the eggs, then she's going to fill in the nest with her back flippers again, tamp it down, and then she starts throwing sand with her front flippers to disguise where the eggs are.
Sometimes hiding the nest so well, even the Turtle Patrol has trouble finding it.
So a lot of times people, if they see a sea turtle at night, they're not sure if it's just a pile of sand because she throws so much sand she can sometimes cover herself.
For the next few months, Bakur says to keep an eye out for turtle moms and call the Sea Turtle Patrol if you spot a nest.
If you're visiting our beach, please fill in any holes. Those can deter turtles from nesting or cause them to get trapped.
Many of us have already fired up our lawnmowers this season, but beyond weekly grass cutting, there are things you can do to make sure your yard looks healthy all season long. Meteorologist Ryan Munn has more.
This is not your average married couple. Antonio and Angelina Santos Palma have worked and owned Palma Lawn Care for 3 years.
One of the most important things that we do is lawn mowing. That's actually what got us into the business. It's important to mow your lawn every 7 to 10 days. We start usually around this time of the year, and we'll start mowing weekly.
Angelina recommends fertilizing your lawn to keep it looking healthy and green.
You can fertilize your lawn it's about 3 times a year, and it's every 4 to 6 weeks. And to do that, you would aerate your lawn first, and then you can fertilize. It'll help retain the fertilization.
You'll also want to edge your garden beds around 6 inches deep, and from there, you can put mulch on top.
So mulch is super important. What we use it for is to prevent the weeds from growing.
Do you consider this quality time or work?
I mean, I think it's both, right?
I think quality time.
Yeah, I feel like we get to spend a lot more time together than most couples do.
While they take their job very seriously,
Do I look handsome?
they still have fun while doing it.
When rain falls on wildfire-scorched land, it can trigger catastrophic debris flows and flash floods, turning potential relief into a deadly disaster. Meteorologist Emily Gracie sat down with the NOAA scientists to learn how they are repurposing tornado tracking technology to better protect these overlooked post-wildfire hazards.
The three different impacts you're going to have is a little bit higher volume of water is going to translate into runoff. That's number one. Number two, the speed's going to be a little bit higher because you've got less vegetation. And then number three would be less root structure holding down the soils. And so you can mobilize them more. And that's going to be ultimately what's going to trigger a debris flow. So on an initiation kind of zone where you have heavy rainfall, you're going to get those sediments to move, and then that's going to cascade as you go downhill.
Tell me about how these mobile radars are being utilized to help this issue.
The key factor in observing and witnessing and ultimately forecasting these events is getting the rainfall right, because they're triggered by rainfall rates, and having those details, the accuracy, the spatial resolution, and temporal frequency of updates. These are all critical factors. A lot of times we just don't get the coverage from the NexRad, particularly in mountainous terrain. And that's because the mountains basically block some of the low-level coverages that we would want to enjoy with that. And because of that, then it becomes beneficial to deploy a mobile weather radar in closer proximity to the wildfire. Instead of chasing storms, we set up shop and wait for the storms to come to us. And in my experience, it doesn't take long to witness a flash flood or a debris flow event after one of these.
Is there ever anything you can do to prevent a debris flow post-wildfire or a flash flood post-wildfire?
So you can do certain things that are in the field itself on the landscape that'll help mitigate them a little bit. But I think still the biggest thing that needs to be done is improving the forecast product and making the public aware so that people are not in harm's way and can do things. You know, if you're camping, you would want to be moving to higher ground. And then if you're traveling nearby, then you would probably want to alter those activities and stay away or just not travel at all.
To learn more about other tools that are being used to predict debris flows, like drones, listen to this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. You can find it anywhere you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow so you are notified every time we drop a new episode. And time now for a short break, but first we take in views above Ocean City, Maryland.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
It's been 1 year since a solar storm that led to the northern lights being visible for large portions of the U.S. Meteorologist Christian Bridges looks back at this spectacular sight.
It's hard to believe it, but it's been about a year since we had that incredible solar storm back in May 2024 with aurora visible across most of the United States all the way down into places like Florida. So you may be wondering, what are my chances of seeing something like this again? To understand our chances of seeing this again, we first have to understand the solar cycle. This is an 11-year cycle with a solar maximum where we've got a lot of sunspots on the sun and a solar minimum where we have very few. You can see that difference in this image from NASA with lots of sunspots during solar maximum and very few during solar minimum. Now, auroras originate from sunspots, so it's important that we're in that solar maximum phase, which we happen to be in right now. Charged particles leave the sun from the sunspots, interact with our magnetic field and atmosphere, and form the aurora. So while it's impossible to know if we'll get an incredible solar storm like this one again, the chances of seeing an aurora are pretty decent this year.